or like observations or anything from the cross post. And so we haven't worked in like the wall and stuff yet, which would be the next components that we add. So we're just kind of doing the familiarization stuff here. It becomes a much better one, I think, either A, in just like avoiding like any sort of entanglement whatsoever, or when you add in something like a barrier or a wall car, you know, whatever it is, where now not only when I push on that and I stay outside, but now I kind of actually get a little bit of postural like bend or, you know, control with him that I mean, I don't really get that much control on the feet. I just kind of keep him away long enough to try to run out and around him. But anybody have any major questions over that? Okay, so next component that we're going to add is just going to be our overhooks and our underhooks. So guys who did ShivWorks class with me, like you guys have done this, right? So basics of the overhook, underhook. So the underhook is really simple. So we'll bring it around here so you can see. So in this particular setup, I have the underhook, Jared has the overhook. Super simple, like nothing particularly complex about that. A couple main things that we want. So when I have the underhook, I can only be in basically one of two positions with relative safety as far as this arm goes. So one, on the feet, and when I'm out in space, I have to have this hand up and on the shoulder, right? And the reason for that is that it gives me, one, it allows me to keep his arm away from my belt line, his belt line, stuff like that, but it has a postural effect on him, right? Like go ahead and try to stand all the way up, right? If he stands all the way up, like his balance is absolutely terrible, right? So it's easy to do shit to him. So he's never gonna do that. So I'm here and here, he's gonna bend at the waist just to be relatively safe, right? So now, I either have to be there, or inevitably, the guy with the underhook is gonna bite down hard on that underhook. Go ahead. Yeah, so he bites down and his hand starts to come down. So either one, I either have to pull that hand back out, or if a guy has like pants with a belt or somewhat substantial pants or something, I will go from the high underhook and I will drop it into the low underhook, right? And I'll grab something, and then when I do that, I'm going to attach my hip to his hip, right? That way he can't circle away from me. If I don't have this and I just try to come to this, he just circles his hips away. Exactly, right? And so you have not only no control over the guy, right? But imagine this is an environment where like I have to control him, right? Maybe we're in a bar or like an elevator or something that's relatively tightly spaced, right? So I don't want to let him go because now he's going to start throwing knuckles at me again, right? I close the distance, got a hold of him, I need to maintain that. So again, it either has to be high, or if it's low, I'm pretty much going to have to grab something, unless maybe, let me borrow Sherry for a second. Like, you're probably small enough that if I was here, some sort, but I could probably reach across, and if you could grab all the way across like this opposite hip bone and keep that attachment, you could probably do it. Now, one's probably more of an option for like BJ or maybe Tim, someone who's like, you know, larger stature than myself, or like if I was going against somebody who's particularly small, maybe. So we have to keep that connection. So now, grab me again here, Jared. So now, once we have it, so I've got that underhook here, same thing, so I've got this other hand. What's the other hand doing?
To the bicep.
Yeah, same thing. It's parrying the bicep, right? If we can go from the bicep to the wrist, bicep to the wrist, bicep to the hand, all of those things are perfectly good. If he's got a coat and stuff on, like I'll grab that, that's perfectly good too. But we start here, and then like I was telling Sherry over there, is so this elbow, when it's inside, the elbow stays tight as well, right? Because now, if he starts trying to like hand fight me and circle his hand back inside, maybe he doesn't get that far ahead in the game. Whereas if I'm inside, but I let this elbow get out and he just kind of gets back, boom, right? Now, we start to end up in that thing. And again, you don't get to be the judge of whether or not the person that you have to fight against knows how to fight. And frankly, it's fairly instinctual, like when a guy grabs inside on you, to just try to grab inside back. Like I don't think that takes very much, you know, I mean, training to make you better, but it's a very instinctual thing. It's just, you don't like it. As soon as the guy gets his hand under there, you're like, oh shit, I don't like it. I try to get it back, right? So, post on the bicep. And that goes, same thing for the overhook, right? So, if Jared's got the underhook on me, right? So, one, if he's got it up high, I'm not in a good spot, right? So I have to get that elbow down, okay? So now, same things that apply to the underhook apply to the overhook. As far as one, I have to parry that opposite side, and now we have to add the head position in two, all right? So if Jared and I are here and here, so all that winning the head position battle really means is having my head below his head. And it can be, that's enough, right? Like I am ahead in the head fighting game. I would like to be here, that's much better, but I have to just be lower head level than him to start. Right, and kind of a general rule, you know, when we're talking about like wrestling, grappling, is like, if you can get ahead by, you know, an inch, then you can turn it into something more, but you have to be able to initially get ahead by that, right? It's like, so if he's giving me, so let's say Jared's got the good head position, I need to get it back, right? I'm probably not just gonna be able to go, okay, cool, win the head, like, he's not gonna allow it, especially if he's a roughly competent person, right? So he's gonna get the head position, so I'm gonna start to have to like, right? So I just start to get that, okay, cool, little by little. So I just gained a smidge at a time, right? Smidge and a smidge and a smidge. Okay, so he's got this, so I have to get the head position back, right? So we go boom, calm down, yo. So I get the head position back, turn your head the other way. Yeah. So now I got the head position. He still has the underhook, right? And see how he's got my wrist? So I need to come back in, reclaim the wrist, reclaim the bicep, reclaim the hand, whatever it is, right? And then now, a couple things we can start to do, right? So in the underhook, a couple main things we want is one, basic duck under, snatch single, body lock position, right? So if the guy doesn't know what he's doing or he gets a little stupid and he stays up high and he lets me create this big space here, all I do is I go, arm goes up, butt goes down, come out the back door there, arm goes up, butt goes down, close in. We either go body lock, right? We can go into something we haven't touched on yet. People call this the seat belt, the split seat belt. It's a cross wrist ride. It's, you know, it's an arm in body lock, whatever you want to call it. Something like this and this, where I can either take him down or I can use this to start to gain positional stability. That's one. Let's say I want to put him on the ground. Arm goes up, butt goes down. Grab the leg and put me in the eye. But so that's a basic one right there. Okay. So now the other thing that we're always prepared for is anytime we're in an underhook, we're prepared for the guy to try to headlock me, right? Because everybody will try it. It's usually a bad idea, but it definitely happens. I got tossed to the bejesus in a headlock my first year doing worlds. And so anytime I get the underhook and I elevate it, you have to know this arm is going to come across. Right? A smart guy and a guy who knows what he's doing, he steps his hips in here, right? So step in with your left leg, boom. And when he reaches across, he grabs head and arm, right? And he uses that to keep me loaded, okay? So whenever I'm here and I elevate, I know the arm is coming across at some point. So when it does, go ahead. That's the easiest time to come out the back door and take the back. But you have to know that it's coming, right? Because let's say he's got the underhook and I get here and here, right? Any idiot can get out of this. However, any idiot hasn't gotten out of it yet. Right? So if I've got decent control or we're up against a wall or something, right, where like maybe now it's kind of difficult for him to get out because the wall is kind of keeping him there, right? So in the meantime, the old Robin Ventura, or the old Nolan Ryan versus Robin Ventura, right? Something like that. But also, this just fouls things up enough that now maybe he pulls his hand back or whatever, and like, cool. He went from having a dominant arm position, head position, body position to nothing because the guy went. So you just have to know it's coming. And the other thing is, whenever you're in the underhook or overhook, is we don't bend over a lot at the waist because the space here, so the guy who knows how to throw trip, things like that, that's where he can use that. But this is how you get yourself snapped down or let the headlock work, right? So if I'm in here and my hips are with me, my spine's up, when he goes to the headlock, he doesn't have much to work with, right? It's here and here, it's relatively easy to deal with that. But if I'm back here and the guy goes for it, right? Yes, that's exactly what happens out of the overhook. Is the guy bumps in, so I like this one, so the guy bumps in and when the guy circles, boom, he catches the head. Super common, all right? So, what I want you guys working on from the overhook, again, base level, overhook, underhooks, I want you up high or down low. I want you parrying the bicep, the wrist. If you can capture the hand, get the hand, and come out the back to the back, go ahead there. Once you achieve that positional stability or whatever, switch over. And then as we kind of start to drill a little bit more live here in a few minutes, then we'll start to work on slamming into the wall, going for the firearm, keeping them from their firearm, things that we would do more, more dynamically. But for now, I just want to kind of work positionally on that. Does anybody have any major questions? Okay, let's rock. Let's switch up partners again. So by now, we should have roughly worked with everybody at some point here. Yeah. And so you're kind of seeing the problem. So because you're short and because Tim's taller than you, this is going to be a problem position for you, right? Because it's hard to get that hand all the way up there. So one thing I would tell you is if you can get that up there right now, go ahead. If not, if you can drop to the belt, grab his belt and bring your hip to his hip, do that. Go ahead. Yes. If not, when you get there, you have to use that position probably more to get out of it. Just because, so can I borrow you for a second, Don? Yeah. So this is, I didn't touch on this, but so one of the fundamental problems of like the underhook is so someone who has like a physical size advantage on me, like he's taller, right, and I'm short and stubby, and so when I'm here and here, think if I get this good high underhook, what happened to his posture? Nothing, right? Because he's taller than me. I mean, that's the story of my life, right? So if I get here, maybe, but now I basically have to come up with like tiptoes, exactly. So nothing much happens. So for me, when I get the underhook, I either elevate and I have to attack right now, or I immediately drop to that low underhook and grab the belt. Otherwise, I have to get out of there, because the thing that'll happen is if I get here and here and I get stuck in the middle and bite, and underhook just bites down, is like now I not only don't have any postural control. One, there is a standing, elbow lock there, but also more than anything, it's just stuck there, right? So he just bites down. Just now I'm like, okay, now my arm is just, it's there. So if I can grab down here and go here, now this is okay, right? It's not, doesn't have a lot of postural effect, but I can keep the relative distance closed down, right? But also, like, I have to know, like, here and here, so if Donahoe bites down on that, this happens when we train all the time, is a lot of times I just have to come here, and I just have to get back out, right? If I can't come, like, boom, boom, right away, I gotta get back out. Because it's just, yeah, anybody, but, like, exactly, yeah. And so you just have to know, like, none of the positions we do are particularly good hangout positions, and like I said, they all come with advantages, disadvantages. So just know that if there's a particular, like, height, difference, you're gonna have that problem. Whereas like the opposite's true with like you guys, right? Like if you can get Ernie in an underhook, drive his ass to the ground, right? Like that's money all day. Ernie gets you in an underhook, you better have a plan right now to either close the distance and do something with it, or use it to make space, create your frames, get back out. Okay, yeah, let's keep going.
So like in a case like this, I'm working with her, I get underhook on her, obviously it's gonna be really cool for me to try to get all the way underneath.
No, take the elbow, yes. Exactly. Perfect. And you see, and so like with her, it's like, for someone that short, right? So as soon as you get the elbow, like she immediately, like all of her weight goes to that opposite leg, right? So that's one of the huge advantages of it, yeah. So now, one, creates a lot of space for you to come to the back, like you did, or to take that snatch single shot there, like if it's wrestling, another thing, like that comes here, is we just go boom, we knee pick straight across, like that's a super common one, as well. But yes, absolutely, like if you're taller and you get this underhook, like, do something positive with it, because this is a money position for sure. Yep.
So then if you're giving that to me, then I immediately
yes, you need to not be there. Absolutely. Yep.
So yeah.
It's like before we were working, she had I was trying to get here and she was really biting down hard. So I could actually, there you go, just like that. So at that point, am I better off then?
So if you can, certainly, like I said, and this only really works if they have the types of clothes that you can grab. Sure. But if they bite down hard on that and you can switch to that waistline, grab her belt, grab her jeans, and now pull your hip to her hip. Yes. Yeah. So that's still an option. Sure. Or if she bites down, maybe you just need to pummel that hand back out and then go into something else. Okay. Right? Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah, so then if you're
there you go.
Yeah,
yep.
and so her, and then now, yeah, you do the same thing. So when you get the underhook, now Sherry bite down on him real hard. No, so Jared did that, yeah. Sherry bite down on him. And so now pummel your hand out, your left hand, Jared. Pummel it out, yeah, and then use that to get back to a different post or something, and now maybe get away. Maybe that's a better option. Yeah. That makes sense?
Yes.
Good. Yeah, and we add the wall. That's the type of thing I would use it for. I wouldn't necessarily do that out in space. Sure. But if you have the wall, and I can put my hip to his hip, now I can use that. The wall, car, whatever it happens to be. Yep.
So if I get it tight, you
go hip to hip, boom, and yeah, exactly. Put him up against the wall. Yep. Boom, and now start to fight. Because especially you find yourself locked up with somebody who's this much bigger than you. Anyways, it's like one, just the size differential is going to be difficult to control. Obviously, Donahoe's he's got good hands and good feet, and he does jiu-jitsu quite often as well. So it's a bad matchup for you, in general. But it is something that you can do. And again, I kind of brought this up in classes before. It's not every altercation needs to end with me going to my gun and finishing it with 2 rounds from a high pec index. Right? It's maybe we're just at a barbecue and drunk Uncle BJ over here is just being a dick. And so now I'm hey. I'm gonna pin him up against the side of the garage and be bro, are you gonna calm down? No, okay, cool. Maybe I'll put him on his back and be maybe you just sit down there with my knee on your belly for 5 minutes while you think about what you did in front of grandma over there. It's not everything is a life and death incident with that. But yeah, absolutely. This is one of those positions where it's good to see, because the underhook it's one of those where the underhook is an absolutely positive, completely dominant thing, but it's gone like that. It has to be utilized right now. And if you go to the regular underhook, high up on the shoulder and you're out in space, it's incredibly difficult to maintain it with the guy. And so we work on this a lot with the guys in the club, is as soon as you get that underhook, and so the timing for this might literally be, so I'm with BJ and we're working, so it might really boom, boom, hit my gut, it has to be that fast, right? So we're here and here, so boom, it's the instant the underhook happens, it comes now, because this is you know, him and I train together all the time, so this happens a lot. So I get here and here, I'm like, okay, cool, let me work on getting it. And then now you're like, okay, cool, right? It's like, right, like for a fair amount of, for 2 seconds of work, right? Like that was a lot of work to do absolutely nothing, but just get taken from underhook on one side to underhook on, you know, and that's really common occurrence with that. Okay, so let's keep repping that a little bit, guys. So try to work on just your positional supremacy, you know, position stuff here, and then we'll work into our weapons and stuff here in a minute. Good, yep. Exactly, that's exactly what I would do if I were you against a shorter guy too, is if you can hike that up and just start working your corner. Yeah, slow it down a little bit, you do, but it's hard to stop. I know, right? Get this whole body moving. And make sure we're working out of the overhook as well. So the overhook is still a positive position if we know what we're doing with it as well. So make sure we get reps both underhook and overhook.
Just toy with
Right? Like, don't let him snap your head down. Like, it's nothing good's gonna happen. He's too heavy and too fat.
I'm not getting any underhooks there.
I think it. So go back.
Oh, okay.
You're here.
Okay.
So if you rotate in front of me, right? That's not good. So you'll be here.
Right.
Rotate to this end.
Right.
So now
Okay.
it's hard for me to really do anything. If you go directly behind me, that's not great either. So standing
On this side.
kind of on the hip here, you know, then you can grab my hand. You know, now if you need to, you can take your back leg and kind of knee in the back of the leg, you know, to strike or whatever. But you can also start like opening up and running for it because you don't want to get physical with me.
Yeah.
It's
And,
just
no,
not-
and this is one advantage of being short that
Yeah.
you have, is it like,
Once you get there, you can
and
go.
for me, because this happens to me all the time with like John or like Big Sean or you know, Big Josh or whatever, it's like, yes, I mean, physically I don't necessarily want to get locked up with them, but because I'm shorter, is I kind of get head position by default, or at least I get,
Yeah, him and I
at least
all
get
the
head
time.
level, not necessarily position, but I get head level by default. So if I get here and here, I'm relatively safe, right? Like he has to work out of this to start attacking. So for me, at least defensively, it's somewhat easy for me to get to positions like this. Now, offensively, there's not a lot for me to do here,
Right.
but I can stifle. And then so for you, so one, if the guy just bites down here, and he might, you don't know, but like as soon as he gets here, or you feel this arm start to get a little loose, like BJ said, is like now that's an easy time to just get out of it.
GTFO.
You know, and the thing that would probably be good for you, I should bring up the class notes, forget this, is like he said, is like, so when you get here, so I mean the wrist and the bicep are good. I always like to grab the hand. Everybody in the club knows I always do this, but for me it's a specific reason. Like one, because when I grab the hand, it takes away his ability to grab with it. But like, I mean, I have okay sized hands, but like I can really apply my superior grip strength here because I can get most of my fingers on there. Whereas you got like thick boy wrists, like I mean, I barely, my fingers barely around it there. So he circles inside of his hand, and it's like
Yeah,
I
and
can't
I wouldn't
maintain
be
that.
able
Yeah.
to.
Whereas
Yeah.
relatively speaking, I get to here, go ahead and get it back. Like it's much more
And
difficult.
the only reason I know how to do it that fast is because I train with
Right,
Lane.
right.
We
And
do
so,
that
yeah.
exchange.
And you also have to think too, is like, I'm not trying to get too far off in the weeds, but like in a quote unquote defensive situation, like grab two fingers. Yeah,
or even one.
Exactly, yeah.
Or a
like that's-
thumb. I mean, anything's fair.
Exactly, yep, nothing wrong with that whatsoever.
So that's them.
BJ, can I borrow you real quick?
Yeah.
So in a case like this, you know, bigger guy, he's got to clamp down. So I do go ahead and I grab and I get in close. With a guy his size, if I don't have a wall to work with, what is my, you know, because obviously I can't, he's jamming down. Where am I going from here?
So I mean, so one, and not to get too far off in the weeds, the other thing you can start to do is like, hey, can somebody help me? You know, or like, hey, we're HDR, hey, call for lane. Like, I mean, something like that, right? Like you can start to add the social environment component, or just the fact that you got you're at Sienna Francis' house, you got a guy locked against the wall, you're like, hey, go get selling. Hey, go back in the office, grab the other guard. Hey, where's the other guard? You know, you can do something like that. But also, like, he's going to do something, unless he wants to just stay there locked up, and then that's kind of okay, because like you're not necessarily like getting your face punched in or anything yet. But also, so go ahead and just give him some response, BJ, right? So let's say he wants to get out or whatever. So now you're kind of reading him, and like he wants to get that hand back, and now as he starts to get out, now see how he fought his head back in? come back just a second, Jared. So as soon as he started to fight his head across, I want you to just pummel back out there,
Okay.
right? So go ahead and fight your head back across like you did, BJ.
Well, he's playing the game.
Okay, yeah. So calm down a little bit, you, Jared. So here, let me show you. Let me show you what I mean. And so I'm here and here, right? And so as Donahoe starts to get his head back, right? So see how that creates a little bit of space?
Oh, okay.
Use that to get back out. Yeah. So in this case, and again, this is it's situation dependent. You want him to get away from him more, less entangled. Sure. So when he gives you the option for less entangled, take less entangled. Versus this is not a, like, trust me on this. This is not a positive case where he starts to fight back in, and I'm like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Even if I get the double underhooks on Donahoe, right? Even if I get here and here, it's like he just clamps down with both. I'm like, all right, cool. What am I gonna do with a 300-pound guy, you know, who's like 3 inches taller than me? Like nothing positive is probably gonna come from that. But so when he fought that back, and he started to get his head back inside, boom, boom, right? So now I'm back out again. So use that, the fact that he moved on you, to make a little bit of that space.
Can I try elbows?
Sure. How you guys doing? You guys doing good, right? You guys been kind of just rocking over here while we've been talking.
We've just been going through stuff, just
Cool.
trying to figure out what to what.
Cool. What kind of, what things are you noticing? What's the problems?
Well,
What
like
you're having?
since I'm bigger and he tries to get the underhook,
Yep.
I obviously do this. Yeah, everybody is going to.
Good, yeah, absolutely. And that's the short man's counter to the tall guy anytime. So anytime, like, you know, because I'm short, so I can miss a lot, right? So here and here, and this is why, and I also bait it, because I don't really have a neck, so it's hard to headlock me. So anytime I get this and I hike it up, I hike it way up because I know he wants to go for that headlock. So as soon as he goes for it, boom, boom, that's an easy counter. So if you can get to it, so like boom, so as soon as I elevate there, like I know the guy, if he doesn't bite down immediately, so like if I feel him not bite down, I know he's either gonna try to turn his back to get away or he's gonna go for the headlock. And when he does, boom, boom, we come out the back door. Yep, and that's your small man counter 101 right there.
Flank and engage to neutral, or we fight back to neutral, that's a win.
Yeah, how are we doing?
That makes total sense, absolutely.
So now, you're up which direction? So I'm gonna try to square up, and as I'm squaring up the face, you go up my back.
Oh, yeah,
We're not fighting.
right, I know.
We're not fighting, this is
Yep.
defense.
And just be ready for it, right? Like I was kind of talking to Ernie, he's like, because I'm short, if I go against a taller guy and I hit the underhook, I hike it up just because I want him to try the headlock.
No.
Like if I can get it, right? So like I'll bait it, like even, so like I'll get to here and here, and like I'll hike it up. Now usually the guy bites right back down, which is a smarter play, but if I hike it up and this stays loose, I know he's going for that, so I'm just ready for it. Now, you have to be ready, because I've definitely been tossing a headlock, being too fucking cocky there before, but like get here and here, and as soon as I hike it up and I feel him go loose, I'm just, and all it is, it's just lower the level real quick, pop that head back out.
We're so low
But
anyway,
I
Sherry,
probably
you're
would,
not gonna-
I would
there's
probably.
no head to grab your
Quite
body.
aerodynamic,
Right.
but
Yeah. And so see, as I'm
So
trying to
then-
like pull in, you just go for it.
Yeah.
Let my hips point the way.
yeah.
Hips don't lie.
Easy Shakira. You guys have a pretty bad game here.